Filipino dairy brand Carmen's Best now offers a fresh milk line, bringing Metro Pacific Agro Ventures closer to its goal of helping the Philippines achieve self-sufficiency and food security. Joining us now, Jovy Hernandez, Metro Pacific Agro Ventures and Carmen's Best President and CEO, and Toby Gatchalian, Metro Pacific Agro Ventures and Carmen's Best Chief Commercial Officer. So congratulations, Jovy and Toby. Long time coming all the way from ice creams. Tell us what the significance is of the launch of the fresh milk line.
Thank you, Cathy, for having us. As you know, we're known for our ice cream brand. We're making fresh milk products more accessible to the Filipino consumer. I think that's the biggest news that we have. Later on, you'll see there are 5 variants that we have, the different demographic targets. But again, providing the Filipino with the freshest milk that is out there. Because today, 99% of the daily consumption of the country is imported. We're only 1%. So I think we are making a big impact. We'll probably not be able to shift the tides in terms of equation from 99 and 1, but definitely we will make fresh milk more available locally. Produced by a 100% Filipino-owned company.
And distributed nationally because
Yes.
that's the goal. But what sort of a timeline are we looking at? Because we're talking fresh. So that also means shelf life
Correct.
is short.
Right.
So that's a huge challenge.
That's a
when you talk
huge,
about
huge challenge.
the
Oh, tell me
broken
about it.
supply
That's
chain.
something that we are cracking our brains together just to be able to solve that, because the very nature of fresh milk is a short shelf life, right? Today we're actually at about 7-day shelf life. But there are things that we're doing on the processing side and using technological advancements to be able to extend that as much as we can. But our experience, Cathy, especially my kids, when I bring home a 1 liter whole milk, okay, 7-day shelf life. 1 day lang, ubus na. But you're right. We're trying
Ravenous
to
kids
make
you
it nationwide. And as you know, we started with only Carmen's Best in Laguna. We started with about 200 cows, 90 of which were milking. And that was supplying the whole value chain of Carmen's Best ice cream and a little bit of fresh milk during that time and a little bit of yogurt and cheese. We've so far expanded already the Laguna facility. We have about 450 cows live today. And that's a considerable jump from where we started. Recently, I'm sure you've heard in the news, we've also bought Universal Harvester Dairy Farms in Bukidnon, which is the largest dairy farm in Bukidnon. That's adding about 1,000 cows. But the Bukidnon facility is quite critical to us because that is the key for us to be able to achieve nationwide distribution. So think of it this way, Laguna will be serving Luzon and Metro Manila. Bukidnon will be serving Visayas and Mindanao. So from that perspective, and while we speak, we're also building the largest, most integrated dairy facility in the country with our Israeli partners, LR Group. That will have another capacity of about 2,000 cows. So you could imagine the kind of investment that Metro Pacific Agro Ventures and MPIC, our mother company, has done, because we're really serious about helping the local dairy industry to a state where it should be better. Because we, like our ice cream, we have proven that we can produce it locally, but we will have the best quality standards that could, match up with the international brands. So we feel that once we are able to provide locally produced, locally sourced, 100% fresh milk products for the Filipino consumer, I think that is a very big and bold statement, and we're very strong in our resolve in terms of achieving that.
Toby, talk to us about the consumer, because Jovy mentioned the variants. How are you approaching the different markets and in a big way where we get to help not only the markets that you're trying to serve with the variants, but those in the groups considered yung mga nasa laylayan, if you will?
Internally, we really hold to the belief that the Filipino deserves nothing less than fresh. And so we say fresh is best. Today, we talk about fresh is best from Mu to you. It's a gesture of love to the Filipino people that they truly deserve 100% fresh, 100% local fresh milk. And in order to do that, we are providing the consumer with different variants, different flavors. Of course, we have whole milk, which is, moms would love to have this for their kids at home. with all of the nutrition that comes with fresh milk, although shorter shelf life than what you see as other milks that are lasting on the shelves for a year or 6 months. This one has all of its rich nutrition and freshness. We have whole milk. We also have low fat. And for kids and kids at heart who have kids at heart who remember the nostalgic days of a chocolate milk in a bottle, or kids who love chocolate milk mismo. We have Carmen's Best chocolate milk. The ice cream that people loved, that we help make available to more consumers, before and even after, the largest selling variant continues to be salted caramel, which is a flavor that they love. So why not provide our consumers also with salted caramel fresh milk? And then finally, as you probably see with the younger generation, the generation of my daughter, it's the significant rise of the third wave coffee shops and the coffee culture. It's a quite interesting phenomenon that people are actually drinking less alcohol and drinking more coffee. And people are a little bit, baristas and coffee consumers are more knowledgeable and more discriminating in the kind of milk that they use. And definitely what we're providing as barista fresh, Carmen's Best barista fresh milk for your coffee provides better handling, better foam, and enhances the flavor of coffee much better than the other milks that are being used in coffee shops today. So, we're happy to share all of this.
Toby, talk to us about price, because when we talk fresh and local, people think it might be a little pricey.
Well, let me give you a little bit of context. No? As we got into this, we're about almost 2 years into this process. We have come to discover, come to understand how difficult it is pala to be in the dairy industry, to be able to produce fresh milk for our consumers.
How difficult?
For some, it starts even with the farm, right? To be able to generate the kind of yield of amount of liters per cow per day. The Philippine average is still very low, and we're employing different technologies to be able to help our cow ladies to be able to give us the most nutritious milk at the most the best volume per cow per day at the most efficient cost. And I mean, I say it in very simple terms, but you can understand how complicated that can be, as well as the processing side and ensuring that we work with the complications of microbiology and safety to make sure that we get clean, nutritious milk to our consumers. So it does come with a certain value that actually consumers are willing to pay a little bit of a premium for, because it gives them clean, fresh, nutritious, local milk as compared to what they're used to. So our 1 liter milk bottles are a little bit south of 200 pesos, about 199. And if for those who want a smaller bottle, we have 300 milliliter bottle that's a little bit less than 100 pesos. So, when you think about the value that you get, people would pay for fresh milk.
Let's geek out for a moment on farming, because I know you've got a huge background in agriculture, Jovy. You talked about cow ladies. That's my first time to hear a cow lady, but they're the ones that produce the milk. But talk to us about connecting the dots. We're coming all the way from Carmen's Best. We know of it as an ice cream product, but now we've gone into fresh milk. And how did you create that process?
I think one of the things that has to be fundamentally understood when we take a look at the Carmen's Best brand is the center of gravity of our business, which is really fresh milk. Because even the ice cream comes from 100% fresh milk. In fact, another tidbit information, Cathy, in other countries, if you have an ice cream that is not made from 100% fresh milk, they're not allowed to be called ice cream. It's a frozen dessert, because the ice cream has to be made from fresh milk.
Like a gelato.
Yes, exactly. So if you take a look at Carmen's Best, while we were producing one of the best ice creams in the world, that's what we always think, and we try our very best to produce the freshest, no shortcuts policy. If we say strawberry, we really put real strawberries, not mixes or whatever. We really use fresh ingredients. So in that case, you would now take a look at us looking at the cost of putting in fresh strawberries rather than just flavoring. That adds to the cost. Now, the average yield of a cow in the Philippines, Cathy, is about 10 to 12 liters per cow per day. Right? That's every single day. We milk our ladies twice a day. That's 4 a.m. and 4 in the afternoon. And so when we get the milk 4 a.m., we process that, and immediately that goes out of the to the shelves already after all the quality control processes that we do to make sure that food safety is complied with. Because one of the biggest challenges of fresh milk is bacteria, right? And bacteria is the hardest thing that we need to take a look at, because literally you cannot see it. So what Toby was pertaining to in terms of microbiology, you could imagine that we have a laboratory in-house that actually takes a look at all of these bacteria to make sure that they are kept at bay. But it is different from other milk brands where it is not fresh, because they just pasteurize it at a certain temperature to kill all the bacteria. Unfortunately, you also kill the good bacteria, which we want for our consumers. So back to the yield portion, it was a very difficult realization that the dairy industry is quite a difficult industry to be in, because there are a lot of factors that you need to consider. One of the things that we've discovered why the Philippine average in terms of yield is very low, 10 to 12 liters per cow per day, compared to other countries where they were doing 40, Cathy, 40. That's 4 times more yield.
And the same clams?
No,
Same
different.
topography?
Different, but
Maybe Australian, New Zealand cows?
yes, yes. In fact, our partners, the LR Group from Israel, which is quite a very important factor in this whole equation that we're trying to put together. I personally saw their farm in Papua New Guinea. Very similar climatic conditions as the Philippines. One could argue that it's a smaller market. Even some would say it's a lesser educated people versus the Philippines. But they were doing 42 liters per cow per day. So we said, what's in Papua New Guinea that's not in the Philippines? How come we can't do it? So when we looked at all of those factors, the hypothesis was, look, LR Group, our Israeli friends, why don't we bring your technology in Papua New Guinea, bring it to the Philippines, and prove to the world that we can also do it here?
So does that mean having brought the cows from Papua New Guinea?
Well, they're also from Australia, New Zealand. Predominantly, these are the Holstein Friesian varieties, or from a genetic breed called Holsteins. In fact, we're bringing in 100% Holsteins now to be able to increase the yield. But one of the things, going back, Cathy, that we discovered it was very logical, was nutrition. People in the dairy industry will always say, keep your cows happy, keep your cows healthy, and you will have more milk. That's fine. But the traditional way of doing it was pasture grazing. So we just let the cows loose, go eat all the grass that you can eat.
So that doesn't make them any happier.
Probably they're happy, but in terms of scientific approach, are they getting enough nutrients and energy and protein for them to be able to use their internal machinery to produce more milk? So that's one of the things that we've quickly changed. We are now giving our cows our own formulation in terms of silage. We call it silage, that's the scientific term. But its majority of that is corn. Right? So corn is the basic nutritional requirement for the cow, and then you add a lot of the other things like alfalfa and all of these things, right? Spent grains, etc., etc. But the major ingredient is corn. And Cathy, another tidbit: one cow eats about 30 to 40 kilos of corn every single day. Now, if you do the math, where the hell are we going to get all this corn, right? To be able to give our cows the right nutrition so they can in turn give back to the people the right quality and of milk and with the right quantities.
So where did you get your corn?
So that has now ballooned our business, because we're now looking at entering into commercial scale corn farming, and we're moving along in that regard. But what is very interesting is we found ourselves front and center in working with local corn farmers. So we actually buy from local corn farmers from Laguna, Quezon, Batangas, all the way up to Rizal, just to be able to make sure that we are food secure in terms of feeding our cows, right? So that's one, nutrition. The other one is, of course, animal husbandry, as they call it, which is, in simple terms, making your cows comfortable and happy. Of course, the dairy industry is known to be in the cold regions of the world, and we're quite hot, right? So we make sure that we make use of technologies like making our barns bigger. The height of the elevation is quite high, so that there's actually the right air movements inside the barn to keep them cooler. There are technologies like we give them a bath before we milk, because that brings down the body temperature down, and that actually helps also in terms of them producing more milk. There are a lot of nuances, Cathy, like giving them back scratchers in the barns. They love to scratch their back, so we give them an automated back scratcher, etc., just to make them feel better and more comfortable.
And the impact was immediate. As soon as you gave them
no,
all these
that's
niceties,
that's also the hard thing,
the
Cathy.
milk production
It's not
increased.
immediate. That's the hard thing. You could imagine that when a calf is born, it will take 9 months for her to become what we call a yearling, which will now be ready for breeding. In other words, dalaga na siya. Once we do AI, not artificial intelligence, but artificial insemination, you wait another 9 months before she gives birth. Right? When she gives birth, now it's a time for milking, and the process is continuous. And the genetic breed discussion is quite something that is very scientific, because we have to follow the lineage of the genetic breed of the cow to make sure that the offspring are still of that genetic makeup. As an industry in the Philippines before, cows were being given by the government to the local farmers for free, diba? Sometimes they give them 5 cows for the local dairy farmers. There is no traceability on the genetics of the cow, which is something that we also work with the government, like the National Dairy Authority, in terms of how we can make sure that we are now giving the farmers the right genetic breed, so that when we give it to them, they will expect the right yields as well. So many things that are being done in the equation. And again, the microbiology side is often overlooked, but I think that is also the hardest. But that is also a company culture that we hold very close to our hearts. We are very anal about quality, and we will never allow a compromised batch to go to the shelves for our consumers. No, that's a no-no.
Given the complexities then, and I'm thinking from the perspective of the chief commercial officer, is it going to take a longer time to get the money back? And make money?
Yes, I would say not very long. There are ways to get there, and we are working on it now. But that the philosophy is, there's no better joy than giving your best, but we keep getting our best to better every day. So in terms of managing the business so that there is profitability, it's about looking at the business in totality, understanding where there are efficiencies, where technology can help better yield, who we partner with so that we can get the best minds to help us, and also how to do our job on the commercial side to be present in more supermarkets, groceries, restaurants, corporate offices, online platforms, and make it available, because that too will drive your top line, and as a result, will help the bottom line.
We think, Cathy, that the business side will come. Right? It will eventually come.
Do you have
I think
a
what-
timeline for it?
Oh, very soon. You know naman our chairman. He wants it immediately. I think
2025.
I think we're in the positive EBITDA numbers already in 2025. And if you think about where we started 2 years ago, that's quite an achievement in itself. But I think what needs to be talked about, Cathy, is beyond the business and profits. I think the purpose of what we want to do is, I think, the more important story. The consumers today, if I can go back to that question, Toby and I are seeing, and many people are actually seeing it, a dramatic shift, especially from the younger consumers. Kami, Gen X kami. Gen X, no? Medyo tumatanda
Hindi tayo
na.
nakakaiba.
But during our time, whenever I go to the supermarket, I just get something, I pay for it, and I drink it. The consumers today are more conscious about what they're paying for and what they're consuming. And a big driver of that is health benefits. People are now really looking at what they are consuming at a very, very important manner. So, if you talk about price, Cathy, there are drinks out there that are made of 90% sugar that are the same price. So if that's the case, I would rather drink a glass of fresh milk because that gives me the nutrients that I need. It'll make me a better person. It'll make me healthier, right? And then I'm helping the farmer because we buy from the corn farmers. We also buy from local dairy farmers. We're also helping the Filipino because we're not consuming imported stuff. We're consuming local stuff. So it's a nice ecosystem that will eventually develop the Philippine dairy industry. Maybe not to as big as like in the US, but it's a small step forward, Cathy. That's what's important. And it is not just about us, Carmen's Best. It's about the whole community working together, and the consumers are going to be part of it. Our job is to make sure that we are providing the best and the freshest products out there, and we hope that you'll be able to provide it at a very competitive price so that the consumers will patronize, and hopefully that becomes a nice ecosystem that will make everybody happy, including profitability also for the company, which is also very important.
So that change in consumer mindset is happening, but are there any specific strategies that you're employing to ensure that they get the message more clearly and quickly?
Tell the
That
truth.
it's not going to be a hard sell when
No,
you're
I
going to
think-
tell them to drink this glass of
say-
milk rather than just
when you
another
say
coffee cup.
I come from a marketing practice, no? So when you say strategy, the strategy is simple. You just tell them the truth. It's authenticity. There's no shortcuts. When Jovy was referring to Generation Z, which is my daughter, and Gen Alpha, which is my son, these consumers will align themselves with companies that share the same values as them. And therefore, they want companies to tell the truth. So, ganun lang kasimple. We don't claim to be the ones to transform the entire industry. I think we're doing our small part. But as our chairman said, why? Because this industry, dairy in particular, has been underdeveloped. And, dairy countries with dairy heritage took hundreds of years to develop, di ba? And what we're trying to do is try to leapfrog this through a corporate entity. We're doing our part to do the heavy lifting. But hopefully what we do will inspire the next generation or even other companies to do the same, so that we do what's right for the Filipino family and for the immediate local community and for the country. That is the strategy. So it's not really marketing speak. It's simply showing that what's in the bottle is 100% fresh and 100% local.
It's a small step towards improving the dairy industry, but partnerships really become an important part of the equation, if you will. What is the strategy then with partnerships? I've seen you approach local government units, maybe even the Department of Agriculture and the affiliate agencies, but what about the private sector? What sort of help are you getting to make this a wider effort at improving the country's dairy industry?
Yeah, well, as I said, it's becoming to be a community for the local dairy industry. Of course, we brought in first our Israeli partners. They are actually providing the latest technologies and the most modern farming practices found in the world, and we're bringing it here in the Philippines. I think that's very important. Second is we found ourselves working with other local dairy farmers. So we buy their raw milk also and use that for our ice cream and our milk products. In that regard, we also now found ourselves working with these local dairy farmers because we provide extension services on how to better care for the cows so that they can also increase their yield. In fact, some of them are now starting to use our silage formulation in the hope that the yields will become bigger so that we can buy more of their milk, so that we can produce more fresh products for the Filipino consumer. So it's becoming to be a complementary equation for everybody. The National Dairy Authority is a key partner. They are the ones who are the stewards for the actual status of the Philippine dairy industry. And I think when we talk to NDA and the administrator, I think we found ourselves believing in the same principles on how we can improve the local dairy industry. There are programs by the government today that we think we would like to support, like increasing the number of cows in the country by, if we can provide the offspring of our own farm and NDA will use that to be given to the local dairy farmers, then that's going to be a nice equation as well. The potential partnerships, Cathy, are starting to pick up, quite frankly. Toby and I are quite surprised that there are some international institutions who have been in the dairy industry for hundreds of years who are now approaching us to try to see on how there could be collaboration that can be done so that they can also help develop the Philippine dairy industry for us to be able to produce more milk locally and produce more products locally. So I think it's difficult. We think it's going to be a long and arduous journey. But what is important is when we are focused on the purpose. To us, sabi nga kay Toby, whenever we sell one small bottle of fresh milk, to me, that's a smile from a Filipino. So if you think about it that way, every pint of ice cream that we deliver to a household, it provides joy to the family. So if you put it in those terms, the purpose becomes more meaningful, right? Rather than just, benta ka, marami niyan, pera. It is more than that. And I think that's what's driving really the purpose of Carmen's, not only Carmen's Best, but also Metro Pacific Agro Ventures as a whole.
If you talk about purpose, when I first met Jovy 2 years ago, and he talked about what the objective of all of this was, in a way, within 30 minutes, I said, sige, sali ako. And it's in a way, that's a partnership, isn't it? We have today a lot of F&B, supermarket, restaurant group entities that are going to be with us today. And my hope is that they see the larger purpose in this. We are being approached already of a very well-known local food and restaurant group chains that say, hey, we have the same values. We believe in localizing the supply chain. We believe in helping the local community. We believe in feeding the Filipino, all of that. So the partnerships will come when they see and align and believe in the same things that we do. Then the partnerships will come in.
And enabling policies, if you will, is there any policy in government, existing or not yet existing, that have to be brought up to both houses of Congress to pursue this goal of really helping keep this country food secure?
Well, the short answer is yes.
Are there a lot?
Well, there are certain groups today that are both private sector and public sector led. For example, I'm part of the CALAP group, which is the Kapatid Angat Lahat Agri Program. That's also being led by Joey Concepcion. So there are things there that we are looking at in terms of policy advocacy for us to be able to put forward to the government on how we can improve Philippine agriculture as a whole. It's multi-sectoral. It's not only dairy. So there's the rice industry there. But there's only one common goal is what do we tell the President and Congress on what are the things that we think we need to change for us to make it better for the business community to get involved and to also help the farming communities to better their business in terms of the dairy industry. So a lot of those things are happening. And I always say, Cathy, I always circle back to the success of the call center industry, because you know I was in the telco side before, right? And we started the Philippines with 0 call centers, and today we're still the #1 in the world in terms of voice, right? And in hindsight, when I take a look at the history of the call center industry, it was the same formula. It was government, a group of individuals who wanted to drive the idea, and the private sector working together to make things happen. That's our dream for the Philippine data industry. There is a group already that has been formed. It's just really just organizing everybody. Today we're working with farmer communities, and I think it's going to get better as we move along.
So food security, insecurity, sustainability, are we far out from actually dreaming to become food sustainable in the Philippines? What are your thoughts now that you're taking that first step with the fresh milk supply chain?
That's a difficult question, Cathy, but let me answer maybe in a different way, and allow me to zoom out a bit from Carmen's best and talk about Metro Pacific Agro Ventures in totality. So Metro Pacific Agro Ventures, as you know, is the holding company under Metro Pacific that will handle all the agri investments. And we have always had a vision. We call it redefining the Filipino plate. Right? Because when you talk about food security, we have to talk about the Filipino plate. And the typical Filipino plate today is very simple. It's 3/4 rice and 1/4 adobo. May Coca-Cola sa gilid, may potato chips. And when we say we want to redefine it, now we have fresh ice cream, right, which is very good quality. We now have today fresh milk products. We are invested in a greenhouse business for producing fresh vegetables, right? So if you take a look at that, we are now putting the puzzle pieces together for us to be able to effectively, again, redefine what it means by a Filipino plate. And there are standards globally already that you can see in the literature of what an ideal plate should be. More fiber, blah, blah, blah. Yan, Pilipinas, dami-dami naman nating gulay, di ba? But, again, Gen X, kami kasi dati, pag pinaparusahan, kumain ka ng gulay. But today, even the Generation Alphas and the Gen Zs actually love their salads, right? And sabi namin ni Toby, ang salad, hindi pang mayaman lang. So a part of that is really educating the consumers. That's also a very difficult thing to do. But we think we have the right formula in terms of teaching the Filipino on what needs to be done. We think with the growing consumer mindset of health, I think it will not be that, I mean, it will not be a walk in the park. But again, as Toby mentioned, simple lang, the truth will set you free. We just say the truth. Right? There's no marketing mumbo jumbo. It's the truth. So for example, for our fresh milk products, yes, it's 7-day shelf life today. We are working on trying to bring that higher, but today it's 7 days. But again, if you buy your fresh milk, I guarantee you, 1 or 2 days, ubos yan eh. So if that's the case, why is the 7-day shelf life even a problem, right? So, but again, of course, for national distribution, we're working on technologies that will lengthen that. In fact, the Barista Fresh later, I think Toby will announce also, this is actually 10 days. Right? So from 7 to 10, malaki yun ha. That's more than 30% increase in shelf life. Diba? But again, slowly, we're getting there. There are a lot of studies that are being done. There are a lot of trials that are being done in the plant. And again, it's going back to that purpose that drives. Kasi mahirap talaga kasi. Yan ang mahirap sa agri. Sabi nila, you need a lot of patience. It doesn't happen overnight. But we know we're doing the right thing. We know that this is for the country and for the Filipino people. And when you put it that way, every morning we wake up and we love going to the farm. We love what we're doing. And we want to express that and show the Filipino consumers how nice this is, so that they can also be part of the movement. If you recall, last year ba yun? 2 years ago when we started, that was the fresh movement that we started. Now naman is from moo to you. Fresh is best. So hopefully everything will fall into place.
Before we wrap, Toby, what assurances do we have na hindi tayo mauubusan ng ice cream ngayong gatas ang ating pinupunteriya?
We are working double, triple time to expand our herd, to improve our processing, to improve our sourcing, to be more efficient in our production, to make sure a cold chain is preserved, to make sure that every Filipino household that wants Carmen's ice cream bang tinatanong mo o lahat?
Lahat.
Lahat.
Na hindi tayo mauubusan pagpunta sa grocery o tindahan.
Well, to be, if I may, the more scientific answer, Cathy, is the investments that we've done in the past couple of years and the investments that we're doing now, we expect to be milk self-sufficient in terms of the demand that we see by 2026. In 2027, our objective is to finally become a dairy master brand. What does that mean? We will be present in all dairy derivatives. Ice cream, milk, cheese, butter, creams, yogurt. So ang dami yan. We can't do that without milk. If the center of gravity really of our business is fresh milk, then we gotta make sure that we'll be able to do that. So with all the investments in the new farms, in the new barns, in the new processing facilities, in the new herd that's coming, and of course, manganganak sila, dadami yan, hopefully we have the right scientific equation for us to be able to be self-sufficient in terms of milk supply. Unless, Cathy, which is a good problem, which I think will happen, the demand will increase further. Kasi once the Filipino sees that this is a better alternative for what I am drinking now, this is a better alternative to what I am eating now, I think the demand is going to go up. And we are strong in our resolve that when that happens, if we need to pump in more money for the investments to really fulfill the demand of the Filipino consumer, we're prepared to do so.
Marami pala tayong dapat pag-usapan sa food plate, no? Ang
Oo,
gatas,
madami.
isa lang, at napakarami pa. Well, congratulations
Thank you.
on what you've achieved
Thank you,
today.
Cathy, as always.
Much.
Thank you.
Well, catch us again next Thursday at 9:30 p.m. Philippine Standard Time on One News. You can also check out the long conversation on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. And if you haven't done so, like or follow my social media pages. I'm Cathy Yang. This is Thought Leaders.